So I was watching a video earlier today from the channel More Perfect Union, which I highly recommend and like very much. And it was about consolidation of power and big data and so on in the meat industry here in the United States, whether it's turkey, chicken, beef, pork, what have you. It sounds like there's a unified data slash tech company that provides all of them with insider data that allows them to effectively price, negotiate slash collude, price fix, basically, but without acknowledging or violating any rules in the process of doing so. And it hit me that we've come a long way since 1924 when the Phoebus Cartel, as it's now known, kicked off with a group of light bulb manufacturers, including GE and Philips, and they conspired to purposely make their light bulbs worse and only work for about 1,000 hours. This was incandescent light bulbs back in the day. And that process nowadays is often termed planned obsolescence, and it involves purposely making things worse, lower quality, setting them some component or another to only work for a limited amount of time. In addition to often dividing up territory, like telecoms does that, where Comcast gets one section and Cox Cable gets another, and so on, right? That kind of thing happens fairly often in a variety of industries, but you have more and more throughout the American economy. Corporations are really driving home the fact that they do not care about us collectively, the American people, be just people at large in the world, right? They exist solely to squeeze as much profit out of the economy as possible and give that to their shareholders. They care somewhat about their executives. They often view their workers as a tax, right? The human tax is what I've often heard it referred to as. And in a perfect tech bro capitalist world, the ideal business would be to have it fully automated once you set it up with no human labor whatsoever. It'd basically be e-commerce without needing any humans at all, right? It's just servers and programs and so on, and that's pretty much it. And so it just hit me how common this is nowadays and how rigged the American economy really is in favor of corporations and the ultra wealthy, the donor class of American politics, politicians that are willing to be corrupted and take money as effectively bribes and so on. That greed runs this country. It really does seem to. In almost every industry, you see de facto monopolies being set up and technology being used to skirt the rules and regulations of yesteryear's economy. Crypto is a great example, how your stable coins that are pegged to the US dollar are not regulated the same way that your typical movement of money is handled. So you're able to get around a lot of campaign finance rules and donation rules, and just in general, you're able to go around a lot of many regulations that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And it seems like the Trump administration in particular is benefiting from this. That said, you have de facto monopolies in things like big meat, if you will, pharmaceuticals, telecoms, etc. One area after another, we've had decades, almost half a century of mergers and acquisitions that have led to the average American worker, average American family doing objectively worse. So it's been corporate power paired with government greed and short-sightedness. The government is willing to use the Fed to decrease the buying power of the dollar and increase inflation, but tell us that what they call the CPI, or like it's the consumer price index, right? The core measurement of inflation is almost always lower than what it is for us in real time, right? What we're told inflation is often different from real experienced inflation. And the government benefits from this because they're able to inflate their way out of debt. as the value of the dollar decreases, it's easier and easier for them to pay off debt by simply printing money. And they just care that it's paid off. They don't care what the value of that dollar is. So you have corporate greed and a slow, massive lobbying effort that has been going on since at least the 1960s that has tried to create or worked diligently to create almost every tax loophole and every subsidy that goes to corporations and corporate groups that exists today. None of our market, nothing in our economy or in our political reality is an accident. Absolutely nothing. All of this what many Americans see as a broken system is functioning exactly as it's intended. The problem is who it's intended for are those that do not have our best interests at heart. They are corrupt business leaders, corrupted politicians, corrupted religious leaders sometimes, and individuals in the media that have been bought off, or you have billionaires and billionaire groups they purchased American media a long time ago, and they've consolidated it ever since. So in totality, you have the ultra wealthy control almost everything we see and hear in the media, almost everything we buy. Almost every politician we're able to vote for is effectively pre-screened and predetermined by the donor class. Almost every aspect of our society that seems to be part of a functioning democratic republic is in effect a mirage and actually functions as an oligarchy. And we're there, and we've been there more or less for a while, but I think at this point it's becoming obvious and we're starting to see it on the face. And it impacts every aspect of our life, and almost everything that we need in life is dramatically more expensive than it was 10, 20, 30, half a century ago. Things that to my parents were necessities, that your health care, your education, etc. These things are all far more expensive now, even when adjusted for inflation, than they were back when my parents, and definitely when my grandparents were doing exactly the same thing. The reality is Americans are doing worse. We are, in terms of real buying power, we American workers and American families are getting poorer, and we have been for a long time. And unfortunately, that's not going to change until and if we make it change. But understanding what went wrong is a large part of beginning to make it right. So if you want to learn more about what's gone wrong in American society, American political culture, and the economy, where we're at now, and what we can do to make it right moving forward, stick around. We're definitely going to be talking about it.